On this episode of Game Shack, I'm going to give you my 5 reasons why I am not going to pre-order the newly announced Dragon's Lair cab from Arcade1up, and maybe one reason why you might want to. All that and more coming up next. Hey everybody, welcome on back into Game Shack. I am your host, JDV for Evil Genius Entertainment. Right off the bat, if you have not already subscribed to this channel, please do so. It really helps us out. And if you like the video, please give us a thumbs up at the end of it. And if you don't like it, give us 2 thumbs down. All right, so last week, Arcade1up finally announced that it was going to begin starting to take pre-orders for their long-awaited and 2 years ago announced Dragon's Lair cab. Now this cab looks to be in a sort of a similar style as Tron and T2, which is to say, basically you're still getting the same 17-inch screen, the same 17-inch form factor, but they're adding that additional about a 1 to 10-inch riser in there to make the cab's height closer to about 5.5 feet, a little closer to 6 foot as opposed to their normal 4-foot cab. Now, despite that, and despite the fact that they will have an additional LED screen in there to show you the score, as opposed to the cell phone suggestion, which they had originally toyed with and was immediately not thought of very well by the community. Other than that, you're looking at a fairly decent reproduction of the original cab, albeit in a much smaller form factor. Dragon's Lair and Space Ace are some of the best beloved, most remembered games from the early 80s by Generation X. For the time, it was an amazing accomplishment when you had graphics like Galaga and Space Invaders, Pac-Man, graphics along that level. Here we had a full-blown animated game by Don Bluth, the Disney master animator who did things like Secret of NIMH. Despite all that, I am not going to get it, and I would not pre-order it even if I didn't own the iArcade, which does have its own myriad of flaws. Now, my 5 reasons are not based on the fact that I have one, but somewhat based on the fact that you could still order either a Gen 1 or now a Gen 2 iArcade. All that said, let's just go ahead and jump right on into 5 reasons why I am not going to order this cab. 5! Well, my 5th reason is probably kind of a little weird considering everything I just said. But the fact of the matter is that the games, while really amazing for the time, and while they still have an amazing nostalgic value for a lot of people, they're really not that great to play. They are essentially just a series of you see an arrow and you click that way. Now, while most video games have some element of pattern in them, like probably all of them to some extent, this is a purely pattern game. So once you've played through it once or twice, once you've won the game, there isn't a whole lot of reason to play through again, especially when you can see all of the scenes cut together on YouTube as basically a movie. So the replay value of Dragon's Lair compared to the replay value of Galaga or Pac-Man or other contemporary classic games from the 80s is not nearly the same. At least that's what I have found in my experience. 4! My 4th reason why I'm not going to pre-order this game is right now pre-ordering anything from Arcade1up is risky. I won't pre-order any Arcade1up game right now until I've seen somebody actually have the machine in hand and review it. And that is because Arcade1up has had just a rift of quality control problems in the last year. Even on high-end games like Tron, we've seen the joysticks break, we've seen the little spinner stop working on them. The Golden Tee XL cab, brand new cab, has had a host of manufactured problems, from a screen that is unviewable from the side. Those screens have broken. A firmware, I guess, has bricked a lot of machines. You have panels not fitting in together. In a game like Class of '81, again, not a very old game, you have washed out marquees. You know, some of the games don't have coring doors when they should. Again, that's T2. On T2, the cores just kind of hang out and don't retract. Now, for some of you guys, that stuff's kind of minor or workaroundable because you are good at fixing up your own machines. But for a lot of people at $600 or $650, having a quality control issue like that is a big deal. And right now, they have not straightened out their quality controls. That when you go to Best Buy and read the comments about the Golden Tee XL cab, they are amazingly negative. I think there's one nice good comment and all of the rest give it 1 or 2 stars. And to me, that is a bit shocking for both A, brand new cab, and B, a cab that you presume has a lot of appeal to a lot of different kind of people. It's been very shocking to read about the screen and the trackball and the bad firmware. So all that said, I don't want to order any game from Arcade1up at this point until I actually see a real world version of it, either that I get to play myself or that somebody I trust has reviewed it. 3! And my third reason why I'm not going to pre-order is that the risk is doubly so when you don't even see real pictures of the cab on their website. Now, I believe they announced this cab some 2 years ago, so they've had a long time to take a look at and modify this cab and everything, and yet when I look at the pictures on their website, to my eye, they look like computer-generated pre-renders. In other words, they're not pictures of a real working cab, particularly when you look at that secondary LCD scoring screen with the red lettering and numbers. That looks very computer-generated to me, so I don't even know that we have pictures of a real working model yet. And it's that secondary screen that is the real reason for getting this cab. If you are wanting a close to arcade version as possible, then this Dragon's Lair cab from Arcade1up is definitely it. That secondary LCD screen is something that the iArcade, either Gen 1 or Gen 2 cabs will not have. So that is a very interesting feature. So not to see a real good picture of it on Arcade1up's website gives me pause. 2. Sometimes arcade original is not always better, and I think that is the case on this particular cab. It's a very bland looking cab. It's sort of like a sticker on either side, you know, featuring Dirk the Daring and the Dragon. You have the lit marquee and the control panel looks nice and all, but there's just a lot of black empty space on that cab. It really does not look great, as opposed to the iArcade versions. Both Gen 1 and Gen 2 look fantastic, at least to my eye. They might not be arcade original, but they look a lot better to me. Again, the only thing that really would look better to my eye would be the fact that it has that LCD screen. But without seeing how it works in the real world, I'd be very hesitant to do it. 1. The fact that there is already a really good looking, very good playing version of this game on the market is a big negative for this cab announced by Arcade1up. Simply put, it's come out a little too late. I mean, it was announced 2 years ago. If it had come out 3 months after the announcement originally made at CES, I think in 2019, then this cab would already be in people's hands and this wouldn't be an issue. Also, it might have stuck a dagger into iArcade because, again, a lot of people just bought into that just for Dragon's Lair in Space Ace. But it's reversed. The fact is, iArcade come out first, and while that first gen cab has a lot of problems, Dragon's Lair plays great on it. Space Ace plays great on that cab. So there is an alternative to the Arcade1up cab, and that isn't true for most of their cabs. If you want to brand it, license Pac-Man, Galaga, Terminator 2, Tron, I mean, all the list of those games, mostly you're going to have to buy into the Arcade1up lineup. But that's not true here. The reality is that you can buy this on the iArcade and that it looks really good on that machine. So depending on where your loyalties lie, or if you want a game that has potentially more online features, as well as, in my opinion, looking better and has a lot more games built in, 11 versus 3, and of course the ability to add even more games to it. This, to me, is a no-brainer if you have to pick. Now, if you have the wherewithal, or let's say you own the iArcade and it's in a different skin, say like Mayhem Brawlers or just a Tron-like skin or whatever, and you really want to have that original design, then that would be a reason to buy it. If you really want to have the closest to arcade that you're ever really going to get in a sub, $3,000 cab, then yeah, this is something that you would order. So for me, it really is a choice between pure nostalgia and playability. And I think the playability and looks go to the arcade version. at least you can play other games and things like that. You're just going to have a little bit better functionality with that cab. And again, you do get a slightly bigger screen on it versus this cab from Arcade1up is probably as close as we are ever going to see to an actual reproduction of the original game. All right, so that's my 5 reasons why I'm not going to pre-order this cab, even though I do love Dragon's Lair. It is a cool game, but at $600, $650, I do think the iArcade is a better value overall, and frankly, looks better to boot. If you like this sort of content, please give me a thumbs up. It really does help the channel. Subscribe if you haven't. Love each other, and until next time, I'll see you guys in the Game Shack. Mwah! Be sure to visit evilgeniusentertainment.com for exclusive content, swag, casting call news, and much, much more.